This episode is brought to you by FX's feud, Capote versus the Swans. Inspired by actual events, the series tells the story of Truman Capote and the women he betrayed. The original housewives. They were society's most elite women. Rich, glamorous socialites who defined a bygone era of high society New York. From creator Ryan Murphy, this drama series features an all-star cast, including Naomi Watts, Demi Moore, and Diane Lane. FX's feud premieres January 31st on FX Stream on Hulu.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Barenaked, 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 ABCs. Welcome to the Barenaked ABCs, where we review every song from 7 to Y, except this one. We are not going to review this one. It's special. I need to hide it away, just like you've got to hide your love away. Wait, no, wrong podcast. That's alphabetical. I was just stalling for time anyways. I was trying to find my notes. I can't find them anywhere. Oh. Really? Okay, I have them now. It's weird. They were hiding. They were in a book, in a box, high up on a shelf in a locked and guarded vault. Like, it's weird because you want to know who was guarding that vault? It was Aaron.
Really? It was...
Say hi, Aaron.
Hi, Tracy. I'm not guarding your drug stash. I don't know where you got that idea.
And joining us tonight is the man I was hiding my notes away from. You may have heard of him other times he's been on the show. Please welcome Blake.
Hey guys, I'm back. The boss is in-house tonight.
For those of you who don't know, Blake is the runner of the Fill the Void podcast network, as well as a person who does a number of the podcasts on the network as well. We could sit here for a good half hour just talking about all the ones.
Yeah, I'll give you the short list.
There's many bona
Yeah,
fides.
I'll give you the short list later.
Live via satellite, we have Blake with us.
Yeah, it's definitely I was joking before we come on there. This is already the second show I've done today, and I haven't recorded a podcast in like 3 weeks. I've been on vacation. It's been a weird day.
Vacation is over.
You're a busy man.
Yes.
Well, it's good to have you here, Blake. Good. Thanks for being with us.
I told Tracy, one of these times, I'm going to come on, and all three of you will be here. Because the last time I was here, Aaron, you weren't here. So, one of these times, I'm going to come on and meet up all four of us.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. You'll get us. You'll catch us one of these times.
There's a reason that you don't ever see Michelle and Aaron in the same room at the same time.
We're really the same person.
What it is.
Yeah. And also, we're both Batman.
Oh, don't tell him. Oh.
Look, I've never seen me and Michelle and Batman in the same place at the same time. I'm not saying that we're Batman, but maybe we're Batman. I can either.
All right,
we're Darkwing Duck. We're definitely Darkwing Duck.
Let's
get dangerous.
That makes a little more.
Anyway, go ahead, Tracy. Bring us back.
All right, I'm going to pull us back on track because I don't even know how to segue that one.
Tangent Express. You've heard the Oriental Express. I am the engineer on board the Tangential Express.
Continue, please, Tracy. Bring us back.
You are the engineer. Matter of fact, the track was made for you.
Yeah. Reel us back
the track, the train, everything was made for you. So, we're going to talk tonight about the song For You.
There it is.
Ah, nice little segue there.
If you've never heard this song before, and first of all, why have you not? But if you've never heard this song before, here is a snippet of tonight's song.
I have set aside everything I love. I have saved everything else for you. I cannot decide what this doubt's made of, though I've thought over it through and through.
So that was a snippet of the song from the Everything to Everyone disc. There are multiple versions of this song. We are going to review a number of them, but let's start.
Wait a minute, weren't Aaron supposed to guess?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
he was.
I threw my hands up in despair when Tracy said everything to everyone.
It's hard because the last couple of weeks have been so obvious and easy for poor Aaron that I just have gotten out of the habit of having to ask him.
I will be honest. I will be honest though, and say that I did not know.
Wow.
I specifically avoided looking it up, and I tried to guess, and I was like, well, I mean, obviously it features Ed on vocals. It's hard to place the album. It's not quite as polished as Latter Day BNL, but I don't exactly place it in the super early in their timeline. So I was thinking somewhere around Barenaked Ladies Are Me, which I guess is pretty close if it's everything to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's as close as you can get without actually hitting it. So
not bad, not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad for government work.
Back to you.
I thought for sure that I probably had given it away a few times there with the different editions that I had sent out throughout the week. So
I tried to lock myself out and isolate
Tracy,
as much as I could, but yeah.
I even uploaded 4 different versions and specifically didn't put the name into the versions that I uploaded for Aaron.
I would like to thank you so much for sending me 7 versions of this song while I'm sitting in a panel for John Travolta. I want to thank you for that.
Phone goes off, phone goes off, phone goes off.
What is going on?
And then did he ask you, who is that for? And did you say, it's for you?
Oh.
No, but it was just hysterical to me. Why is Tracy sending me so many videos right now? Really? Anyway, sorry, continue.
When it's hitting me, when I'm gathering info for the week, I just spit all the info out. Because otherwise, I'm going to forget to give it to everyone.
You got to give everything to everyone.
I have to give everything to everyone. And this week, I was like Oprah. I'm like, and this is for you, and this is for you, and this is for you. I'm going to go to town on this title this week, by the way, guys. Whenever I can make a pun on For You, I'm going to be making it, just as a warning to all the listeners.
I hadn't noticed.
It's going to get worse.
I couldn't tell at all.
Yeah.
This one's the easy one. I can build on this. So, this song was on Everything to Everyone, the original. It was also on the dual disc that they had released. So for this album, Everything to Everyone, they also released a dual disc of a DVD of all their studio work that they did for each album, along with a lot of extras, like how they went about choosing the order of the songs and which songs they got rid of for this album. So if anyone hasn't watched the dual disc yet, hasn't gone out to buy this, I highly recommend doing so. It's amazing. It was also on the Barenaked Ladies and the Persuasions.
And for every useless reason, I know there's a reason not to care.
And finally, it was on Talk to the Hand live from Michigan. Oh, wait, no, sorry, it's not finally. It was also on the Bathroom Versions.
In a book, in a box, I upon a shelf, in a locked and guarded vault.
Oh, wait, no. And it was also on iTunes Original, where they played it for iTunes specifically and did another version of this.
Are the things I keep only for myself? It's your fate, but it's not your fault.
Whew.
Got one more.
Oh,
got one more for you.
Oh, what's the other one?
It's also on the Barenaked Ladies All Natural tour that's on Spotify, and it's actually at the show I was at. I heard this song, so go ahead.
Wow. Yep, see, I missed one. Thank you. I'm so glad we had you on this week, Blake, to get that one. Now, I got to ask you, because Alanis Morissette was touring for them with most of that tour. Was she there opening up for them on that night?
Okay, Barenaked Ladies opened for Alanis Morissette. So
what?
I hate to say it that way. I know. It's just like the Hootie Barenaked Ladies thing.
You got to remember, Tracy, there was a time when Alanis was like huge.
Yeah, but this was after Alanis was huge. This was the time period after she had kind of gone down and lost her flavor.
She played God in Dogma, dude.
I I know. Well, the funny part was that I remember being at that show, and more people came to see B&L than Atlantis, because like half the stadium left so after they were done. But if you stuck around,
that I'm sorry, that is just sacrilegious. That is horrible.
Well, if you stuck around though, it is not available anywhere because Atlantis never released this, but they came out and performed with Atlantis for Thank You during her set.
Quite something to hear.
Surprisingly, a surprise. It was a big surprise because her band was on stage. The whole stage went black except for her. It came back up and they were there.
Wow!
Out of nowhere. It was so cool to watch in person.
Straight out of Canada.
Yeah. And so, in the concert, it actually goes from an acoustic version of Be My Yoko Ono into For You into 1 week, which they did not. Which is that weird like country banjo version they were doing at the time. That was those 3 songs.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
That's a great trio right there. iTunes original. Not only for each iTunes song did they have the song played specially, but on top of it, beforehand each song they introduced it, much like you would find with like the acoustic sets on MTV Unplugged. They would talk a little bit about the song. They did the same thing for iTunes original. Here's what Ed had to say. I can't cut and paste it in. I would love to be able to do that, but I'm sure I'd get copyright infringement. So I'm going to paraphrase as much as I can here. This song almost didn't make the record.
Wow.
It wasn't actually intended to be recorded for this record at all.
Wow. Okay.
They were in the middle. Well, they had just finished playing Have You Seen My Love, which we'll cover pretty soon here. And they had the acoustic set already kind of set up. And they were like, you know what, let's do a version of For You with this setup. They thought that For You was actually kind of a typical song for them, and that wasn't much of a stretch for them. It didn't really showcase any of their strengths or anything that people didn't already know about the band.
Disagree.
And so they just were going to leave it off the album, and I'm like floored that they were going to leave this song off the album and not even record it for this album. Ed, after it was released, realized how wrong he was about that. So he said, like, this is how we used to warm up. Like, to him, it probably sounded like old them, because this is what they would do to warm up, is they just sit there and do the harmonies, they'd play the simple instruments, they'd do the acoustic piece. So I could see why he'd feel that way, like, oh, this is nothing special. But it was special enough that once they released it and they played it on the Today Show, Ricky Skaggs actually called him up on the day after and said, that was amazing. Really nice job. Nice quartet singing and mandolin playing. Now, that's not me mispronouncing a word for once. That was actually what Ricky Skaggs actually said. And Ed, of course, is a huge, huge fan. And so he just was so honored by that.
Well, I believe there's a thing called the mandolini, which is like a smaller, more petite version of the mandolin, so that actually might be correct.
Well, it is a mandolin that Kevin plays in the song. He's identified it. As a matter of fact, he was kind of joking with Kevin about that. That Ricky Skaggs called it a mandolin.
I like to play my mandolin in North Carolina.
Maybe it was just Skaggs' country accent. Maybe that's what it was.
Could be.
So it's a nice little story that he shares on there, and most people can't go out. You can't buy the iTunes original. It's not available anymore. So I wanted to be able to share that information. Okay,
I take it back. Mandolini is not a more petite version of the mandolin. It is just the Italian for multiple mandolins. So mandolini. So, all right. I knew I'd heard it before. So if there were multiple mandolins being played in the song, then maybe he was saying mandolini playing and trying to be correct, and maybe he was actually right and gets the last laugh. I don't know.
So are they trying to tell us that originally the dictator Mussolini was multiple clones?
It was multiple Mussolini. It was originally multiple Mussolini. Pluralized. He's Mussolini. He actually had a twin brother.
Oh my god.
And they took turns being dictator for the day in case one of them got assassinated.
Wow, I can't even see the track that we're off from here.
Bet you guys didn't know when you were
Wow.
tuning in for fun facts about Barenaked Ladies, you were going to get a history lesson.
Mandolin.
Putting on a clinic here, schooling people with true facts about world history. You're welcome, Internet.
I think you're on mandolin. I think that's where we were.
So, Aaron, I'm going to get us back on track, even though you're the one that pulled us way off track there. And I'm going to ship it over to you for your breakdown of this song. But before we do, I want to let you know the song we're breaking down the one from Everything to Everyone. Just that version. We'll branch out from there.
They're all pretty similar. Mostly the differences are in instrumentation and harmonies and vocals and things like that. But yeah, that's what I based my analysis around. Let's break it down. Break down. Aaron's gonna talk about chord structure and time. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. For us, yes.
You're gonna break it down for us?
Tracy, this is impossible. Tracy, I'm gonna break it down for you. Okay, just for you.
It sounds like a bad broken Italian if you just say, Tracy, I'm gonna break it down for you.
I'm gonna take my mandolini and play just for you. All right, let's stop. Let's go. All right, For You. For You was recorded at approximately 95 beats per minute, which it seems to have been recorded without a metronome or a click track. Obviously, again, it features add-on vocals. It was written in the key of G major. The intro just kind of hammers on G, with the instrumentation it feels quite folksy, almost like Big Rock Candy Mountain or something we're listening to, right? Then you get the verse, and the verse is just E minor to G, E minor to G, at least for the first few iterations of the verse. It's very simple. And then in the chorus, there's an implied key change to C, actually, because you get C, G, A minor, E minor, C, G, F, D minor. So I left out the verse E minor to G minor would just be vamping between the sixth and the tonic, the first. In the key change, assuming you're doing a key change to C major in the chorus, you get C, G, A minor, E minor, C, G, F, D minor, which is 1, 5, 6, 2, 1, 5, 4, 2. Interestingly enough, the D minor then transmissions. The D minor then transitions into a D major, which of course is not diatonic to C major, but it is to G major. So you get that change back on the chord. Actually very similar to what we talked about last week. So the structure is verse 1, which is A, verse 2, which is A, chorus, which is B, verse 2, which is A. However, it gets subtly more complex. You start to see more like an E minor, G, B minor, E minor, G, D, which would be 6, 1, 3, 6, 1, 5. But it's still more or less the same kind of structure. Then we go to the chorus again. And then there's verse 4. I'm going to call verse 4 because it's really just the verse changes and it's an instrumental playthrough of the vocal melody, right? And then there's verse 5, which is a vocal verse, again, over the verse changes. Then there's the chorus, so that's B again. So it's A, A, B, A, B, A, A, B. Ababab, I guess I'm going to call it, is the structure for this song. So the song forgoes a bridge in favor of an instrumental repeat of the verse melody. Not that this disqualifies it as a good song. I mean, Smells Like Teen Spirit kind of does the same thing, although I think it's a little unfair to compare this song to one of the greatest rock anthems ever penned. Instrumentally, it's interesting. Again, quite folksy with the banjo, guitars, mandolin all picking along. There is more than a little bluegrass influence in here as well. There's a lot of soul in Ed's singing, and I think I just figured out what it is about latter-day BNL that irks me so much. Ed's vocals seem way more, I don't know, auto-tuned, or at the very least, more processed in the later albums. Maybe it's not auto-tuned, but compared to the first few albums at least, his voice doesn't sound nearly as artificial in the early stuff as it does in the later stuff. And what truly enrages me is he doesn't need it. We've heard him in live versions. We've heard him in the bathroom sessions. I love those. In fact, I made it a point to seek out the bathroom sessions version of the song, and he sounds absolutely amazing. I think I might even like it. I might prefer it to the album version. Because this is the sort of song that, in my opinion, should be stripped down and just be a man and a guitar. If anything, the ornate instrumentation in the album version might actually distract a little bit from the simplicity of the melody in the song. Without the layers and compression and effects on his voice, you can hear the emotion. He bears his soul, and you can hear it. It's beautiful. It's probably a tie for me between the Bathroom Sessions and the iTunes exclusive versions, which has less going on too, but it's not quite as stripped down as the Bathroom Sessions. I think in this case, the simplicity is a strength and really should be played to. It's just a simple, sweet, and earnest tune. A guy, wearing his heart on his sleeve, and that's where I think Ed really shines. I feel like if Ed ever listened to these episodes, what am I talking about? We know you listen, Ed. Come on the show. He might get the mistaken impression that I don't care for his stuff or the stuff that's a little more like coming from him compared to, say, Steven's stuff. Because, obviously once Steve left, Ed stepped up as the primary songwriter, like David Gilmour did for Pink Floyd after Roger Waters parted way with the band. But just like Gilmour, I think Ed Robertson is an incredibly gifted musician, wonderfully talented and emotive vocalist and guitarist. I love his work, and this song is a great example of his style and how it can really work. Having said all that, I don't put this up there with some of my all-time favorites like Alcohol or Brian Wilson or Conventioneers, but I do think it holds its own within the pantheon pretty well. As far as the alternate versions of the songs, If You Twisted My Arm, I would probably say iTunes exclusive, Bathroom Sessions, Persuasions, which we haven't mentioned yet, but it has some really lovely gospel-inspired vocals. That's quite beautiful in its own right. Then the live at the DTE Energy Music Theater, which we kind of looked at in 2007. That performance was quite nice. And then the album version, which, make no mistake, is still quite good. It's interesting, though. I'm usually not a fan of live recordings compared to studio albums, but sometimes there are songs that just there's that energy in the performance in the moment really carries through. So Portishead, for instance, their best album, in my opinion, is live at Roseland in NYC, and this is no exception here. Some of the live performances and versions of the song that I've heard are, in my opinion, the best versions of it. I would probably put it up there. Well, I'll save that for the ratings, I guess. So that's my breakdown. Thanks for bearing with me as I talked about the multitudes of versions of this song.
During the breakdown, I was curious if they performed this song on this recent tour, and they've only done it one time on this most recent tour. I thought that was interesting. They don't break down song on this much at all.
Wow, that surprises me.
They actually apparently they did For You into Brian Wilson.
It's a very powerful tune, I think, and obviously it's one of Ed's babies.
Anyway, sorry about that. Back to you, Trace.
Yeah, they tend to be leaning more toward Brian Wilson. So, Aaron, what would you think of this song sped up slightly? Not like 33 1/3 to 45, but like maybe up to like a 38, like just a tick higher.
I said this was at 95 beats per minute, I think. So I could see maybe 105 beats per minute, 110. I could like it. I think it could stand with a little pick up of the pace, maybe. And honestly, in a full instrumentation kind of arrangement, the way you have on the album, if they had made the drums a little more prominent, that might have helped too. I feel like maybe speed it up just a little bit, kick up the drums. I guess I'm describing the plot of That Thing You Do, but I feel like that would make the song sizzle a little more.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is when they did the in-studio version on the dual disc, which you can only get through the dual disc, and you have to buy that double disc set, which I recently found at Bull Moose. Bull Moose, please give us a sponsorship. I found it at Bull Moose. It was for sale at a lower price, so I was like, oh my goodness, I got to get this, even though I already own this album. And so when they play this song in the studio, it's sped up just slightly. Personally, in listening to it, I have to say I didn't like the sped up version as much.
Oh, really?
Just because I feel like this is a somber tune, a melancholy type tune. It's already kind of bouncy enough as it is that it gives it a happy feel. Not quite happy. There's still some very melancholy in Ed's voice, like he's being...
Yeah, there's a slight twinge of melancholy in there, yeah.
And that is what makes this song to me so important and so loved by me, is with this song on such an important topic, Ed's vocals and the music and the lyrics all match up. So you get this person who is feeling anxious and wanting to change. And we'll get to the lyrics in a minute. But at the same time is trying to get that person to just accept them as they are. So they're in that kind of angsty spot of not being able to do either.
Yeah.
And there's sadness around that, and you can hear it in the lyrics and in the music.
Perhaps that's the reason that I like the stripped-down versions of the song, because, again, it's someone who is admitting to feeling kind of potentially inadequate or feeling kind of on their own and not unsure of themselves. So just a man's voice and a guitar
I was actually going to say
fits the aesthetic of the song really well, in my opinion.
Very much.
What do you have to say about it, Blake?
I was about to say that because I'm a sucker for acoustic music. I'm a sucker for that. And when I was going through stuff and I found the For You acoustic, I'm like, I forgot how good this is. This is such a great version of the song acoustically. Yeah. And it does hit more. Like, it hits a lot harder, the lyrics, because you're taking away everything and just hearing the meaning behind the songs.
Yeah, I think it does. It's more emotionally resonant.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I agree completely.
The only version of this that I don't like, and I shouldn't say I don't like, the only version of the song I don't love, it drops it down to a like, is the Persuasions version.
I agree with that. I agree there. I did not like that.
Really?
Yeah. And here, I had to think about it a lot this week.
It's not my favorite version.
I want to go. Let's hear what you have to say about why you didn't like it as much, and then I'll add in mine if there's anything different.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I actually never listened to it before until you said, "Oh, they did the version." I'm like, "Okay, I'll go listen to it." And I just didn't like all the extra instrumentation. I didn't like the extra voices. It just didn't feel the same for me. It just didn't work for me at all. So, Trace, what do you gonna say?
That's exactly what I was feeling. So I had this visceral reaction. Sorry, I'm gonna re-say that because I mispronounced that. I had a visceral. Oh my gosh!
Visceral reaction.
I had a visceral reaction to hearing this song, and I think the reason is, one, the first time I heard it was listening to this album, listening to the Barenaked Ladies and Persuasions album front to back. And in doing that, I was looking for songs that would, and we can go on, we'll cover this later on when we hit some of those songs, where it was different and it was improved upon by having them sing this because they did it in a completely different way. This is not that song. They didn't add anything to this song other than the harmonies in the background, and that's not what I was looking for with them doing this album. And then I think this is the wrong song to do that on, because this is a song about a person bearing their soul. This is a song about a person who is bearing their soul, sort of, but this is very much inside his head. This is a conversation between him and the other person. This is a dialogue. Yeah. It's not really meant for the rest of the audience. This is like on a stage production where two people are talking, there's no one else in the room. So when you have those, like, I think having the singular harmonies that we have,
or even no harmony at all.
Yeah.
When it's just the band, it adds to it. It's almost like, or even no harmony. It adds to that solitary loneliness that you get when you have this gospel choiry type feel behind them. It feels like a bunch of people coming together saying, "Yeah, I feel that way too," and that's not what I feel this song should be. And so that, like, it just turned me off immediately, even though the harmonies are totally beautiful.
I really dig the gospel harmonies, but I agree. I think that's why I put it somewhere in the middle for me. Like, I don't like it as much as the Bathroom Sessions or the iTunes exclusive. And probably for the same reason. Thematically speaking, aesthetically, with the style of the song being quite, folksy and bluegrassy, the gospel vocals are a good fit. But thematically and with the content of what the song is about, it does not fit. It kind of clashes. So I would agree.
I think when we hit the end of this podcast, one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is we're going to go over the Persuasions album. And one of the things I want to make sure we do is, okay, all right, we've now listened to all Barenaked Ladies. Which songs would we pick, knowing what their strengths are, how this blends, how well they sound together, and create our own box set for just the Persuasions album? Like, what would we choose for them to do for songs to make this album? But go ahead, what were you saying, Blake?
I was going to say, I think if I was at a concert and suddenly like a gospel choir came out and started singing For You, I might actually do it in person. Like, I think it'd be so much fun in person. But on an album, it just doesn't work for me. That's what I just wanted to bring out there. Like, I know, like, I was at a country concert one time. I think it was Trace Atkins, and he broke out a gospel choir for one of his songs. And it was like, it was so out of nowhere that it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it was really, really cool. It's the same mentality with B&L. If they did something like that out of nowhere, it would be really cool. But not in the case of listening to a song like this on an album.
Yeah. No, this is just too much of a confessional song. All right, so we haven't really talked about the lyrics of the song and what the song is about. So the song is about a man who is afraid to reveal himself, afraid to open up and fully love, a man that feels he's there to protect his vulnerable parts and has to protect his vulnerable parts even from the person that he professes to love. He wants to be there. He wants to be with his partner, but at the same time he knows that he can't. And is asking her to forgive him for not opening up and sharing all these pieces of him that he feels like he needs to protect. To some extent, it's admirable that he's admitting to that. To another extent, I almost like at times like I don't want to say hate the man, but I want to slap the guy across the face and say, you can't apologize for something that you're not willing to want to change. And that's what he's kind of doing, is he's making this person, his partner, have to accept something that he says is wrong, but he's not willing to go and change.
Interesting perspective on it.
Well, I feel like
say,
every time I come on the show, like the last time I came on was Break Your Heart, and we had this deep is who's the good guy in the song? Like, who's the good guy? Is it the person who's singing to, or is it the person who's singing? Yeah, exactly.
Is there
That's what it feels like it is here. But no, I was going to say with the lyrics of the song, when this song came out originally, I related to this song so much. Like, it hit home for me at the right time, in the right place, when I first heard this back when it came out. Because keeping in mind, when this came out, it's pre-meeting my wife, and I was single, and I was just like, there wasn't much going on in my life, and this song kind of hit perfectly for me at the time. So, I think that's probably why I relate to the lyrics so well. And looking back, I'm like, was I really this person? Like, was I really this person?
That's, yeah. I think probably a lot of people can relate to this, especially if you're cautious in love or, you really are trying to find the right person. I can recall, certain points when relationships were getting serious in the past where I was starting to get a little cold feet, because I was like, I don't really know if I want to live with this person. Like, I love them, I care about them, but I'm a very private person. I'm a very reserved and introverted person, and being around people just sort of drains me. So it wasn't until I found Becca who I really felt like I could just be myself with and relax, and I never really felt like I had to really put on
try
a
that
show
hard.
Or not even that, but just like I didn't have to. I could just be myself with her and relax. And she doesn't count as people, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was really, really nice, and that's when I realized I could totally live with her and spend my life with her. So that's why I proposed.
Well, and you don't have to try so hard. You don't have to try as hard to hide your weirdness.
Yeah,
that's how you know when you're with the right person, when they don't really count as people.
That I got that feeling from this.
Exactly. Or find someone who's just
man.
as weird as you are, like in my marriage.
Yeah. Find someone you can be your weird self with. That's my advice. But that was the feeling that I got too. But I went on and actually just kind of I was very curious because it is sort of vaguely worded, right? A lot of it's like, well, I just can't share that part of myself, and et cetera, et cetera. And I found a few people, and someone said it's about someone who's about to get married and it's getting cold feet. I'm like, I could see that specific application, but there's nothing there that says it definitely is that. And then somebody said, and this is the joke I made at the beginning of the podcast, Tracy. Somebody said, I think this is about a drug addict hides his drugs in a book in a box up on the shelf.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that I don't actually use drugs.
And at first I was like, oh, come on, right? At first I was like, oh, come on. But the more I thought about it, they're like saying, this is your fate, but it's not your fault. I can't give you everything you need because maybe he's in love with drugs. No, I don't actually think that's the case. But it was interesting for me to read that person's interpretation of that.
I feel like you just described the plot line in 13 Reasons Why. I think that's what you just did. So.
Oh, my goodness. That was posted by Dagny the artist on songmeanings.com. So shout out to you, Dagny, if you're listening. Interesting perspective, and could well be true. I don't think that's not my personal perspective on the song, but it's an interesting.
And you know what?
You
could also
interpret it that way, and it kind of works.
It
so
not even like for a relationship, also for friendships, because sometimes you are questioning yourself in a friendship sometimes too, and that works here. Yeah.
Well, any kind of relationship. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I throw that out there.
Yeah, very much so. Which, are you suggesting this is an Ed and Steven working their feelings out song?
Maybe.
I know Michelle would if she were here right now.
I know, but just because they're together.
But they're still together at that point. Wait a minute.
It's a couple albums before.
Well, but this was pretty close. This was like, what, a few years prior to the break?
4.
Yeah, 2004.
3. Yeah.
3? Yeah.
Yeah, they were still.
It was still a few years.
Yeah, they were still doing pretty good at this point.
Well, one thing that I loved was in the live version you sent me, Tracy, that the 2007 performance, which was right before everything happened. Steve and Tyler, who of course have nothing to play on this song, are just standing there waiting to sing and join in the harmonies. And I don't know how much of it is like play acting for comedic effect, but Steve at some point kind of looks like bored and just like, what am I doing? And it just reminded me of I think it was like Norwegian Wood. I once saw a music video that was made by the Beatles, and like Ringo is just like very much like kind of lackadaisically occasionally hitting a tambourine. He's like, what am I doing? So I don't know. It just reminded me of that. It just made me chuckle a little bit.
I have to say that in the Talk to the Hand version, Tyler has the most wonderful face while he's waiting in the background. You can tell that he's a drummer because he's just sitting there because he's not doing anything with his hands. And he's trying to keep the beat with his feet because he's got nothing to do. But he's just got this look on his face like he's absolutely bored. His mouth is agape, and he's just standing there. Almost his tongue is hanging out.
That's funny.
You have to go out and watch this version
when
of
you're the
him.
drummer and your band plays an acoustic song.
I can tell you a story about something that happened at a show. At the All Natural tour, I actually got my songs confused when I was looking at my thing. At the same concert, they were singing Aluminum, and Ed forgot the lyrics. Ed completely forgot the lyrics. Yes, and they had to jump in from the back to actually sing the lyrics.
Nice.
It's on the Natural album on Spotify. It is hysterical. But you have Tyler in the background just jump in and start singing. You realize, I know the lyrics. Why don't you know them? Like, come on, let's continue the song. It's really, really funny. It's really funny.
You wrote this song. Come on now. So I want to know. I love this song. What was your favorite lines of this song?
I mean, it kind of depends, because I like how it starts out, and the first stanza is pretty powerful, and then the second is very, very enigmatic, because you're saying in a book in a box up on a shelf in a locked and guarded vault. That's probably my favorite. There's the second verse. Are the things that I keep only for myself? It's your fate, but it's not your fault. Because you really are wondering, what is he talking about? Is this an aspect of his persona he's afraid to share? Is it drugs? Who knows? But it really does spark curiosity. I'm sticking with this drugs interpretation. I will die on this hill. No, I'm not, because I don't even really think that's the case.
You'll die of drugs on this hill. It's Ed turning to Steve and saying, buddy, you're going to die of drug use if you don't fix this.
Wow.
Okay. I'll answer your question.
This took a dark turn. But yeah, I think the second verse as a whole is my favorite part.
Go ahead, Blake.
I was going to say, the line that always got me is, there is nowhere else I'd rather be, but I can't just be right here. Which, that is a great, way of putting it, two different perspectives of everything. That line always gets me every single time. It's a very Ed line.
Yeah.
If I hide myself wherever I go, am I ever really there?
That's the other song. I love that line, because it's not just a wonderful poetic line, but it really kind of
take it back. That's my favorite line.
Sums up the song perfectly. This is an example of the chorus, saying, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
This is a man who realizes he needs to take chances but isn't ready to do so. I have to say my other favorite line, though, is the one that follows yours up, Blake, and I think it's a perfect follow-up for that line. An enigma wrapped in a mystery, or a fool consumed by fear. This man can't decide which he's going to be, which way to look at his problem. As something that needs to be fixed, or something that other people have to accept about him.
I agree, 100%.
That's interesting.
I every time I listen to this song, I grab onto a different lyric. All right, so why don't we talk for a minute about Numbers?
I never saw that film.
Oh,
Show.
Or, no, that's a show.
it's a
right?
TV show. Yes,
That's all I know.
it wasn't a very
never
good
saw
one.
it.
It was only on for a short period. of
Why
time.
are we talking about Numbers, Tracy? I thought this was a Barenaked Ladies podcast.
It's called Tracy had a brain fart there for a minute, and now can't figure out where he's going. I was talking about ratings, and my problem is
You're talking about ratings, I think, is what we're
I thought,
transitioning
all
to.
seriousness, I thought he was going to say, like, a Barenaked Ladies song I played on the show Numbers. I really did. I thought that's where it was going.
You thought I was going for my appearance.
Let's talk about Numbers. This show has featured every single Barenaked Ladies song very subtly.
And now they have
ringtones. He's playing a music video in the background in one episode. True facts, folks.
There was a
True
locked
facts.
and guarded box.
Hashtag Mussolini. True facts. Join the conversation.
No, where I was getting hung up, and you can help me out with this because I'm now going to sound like an idiot no matter how I edit this, is I was trying to figure out what we're going to rate this as this week, and all I could come up with was our rating for this week is going to be secrets. How
Drug
many
stashes.
secrets?
Oh.
But it's not really secrets that he's holding. He's withholding parts of himself. It's not really a secret, so I don't know how to word that. Any ideas?
Secrets works for me.
I mean, Secrets works. Secrets works. I still think I think drug stashes is still better, but
Okay, we're going to send this to Michelle in 2 seconds.
I am not that.
No.
don't.
You're going to tell Michelle
do
this.
drugs, kid, by
and
the
then
way.
she's going to be like, what are you guys talking about this week?
Yeah, I wish Michelle was here. I really.
Michelle, we want to know how many
She
drug
probably would have
stashes
kept
you
us
give
from
us.
spiraling so far off track. I bet if she were here, she's a calming influence on us.
Oh, man.
She is. I'm sticking to secrets, even though it
Secrets
doesn't
works.
feel right. Just because I gotta get us back on track somehow at this point. So I'm gonna jump to you first, Aaron. Aaron, how many secrets
okay,
do you
so we're
give
going with
this
Well, I was
song?
thinking it was tough to place because it's not. When you said that they didn't feel like it showcased the band's strengths, I disagree. But I do agree that maybe not in the way that they're used to showing their strength. It's not bombastic and dynamic in the same way as some of their other stuff that I love so much. But it's very, very heartfelt. It's very earnest, and it really emotionally is quite touching in some ways. So I like it for very different reasons, but I compare it to like Box Set as much as I like it about as much as I like Box Set. So I feel pretty comfortable awarding For You 4 secrets out of 5.
Nice.
Nice. Very
I wouldn't
nice.
be glad I didn't say drug stashes. I'm in rare form tonight, boys. I apologize.
Like, how many secrets
Well,
do you
I
give
was
this
going
song?
through my head, and I'm like, I do love this song. It's not one of my favorites. It's not one of the ones I'm going to put on an album immediately tomorrow or a playlist for whatever. But I really do enjoy the song, which is the reason I asked to come on this show. So I'm going to go with 4 secret drug stashes, and I'll go with that.
Hey, excellent. I'm glad you and I are
Tracy, what do you?
on the same wavelength here, Blake.
I am going to do something very controversial.
Uh-oh. Controversy.
No, I'm not going to admit my drug addiction. No, because I don't have one. Against what Aaron was
Okay.
suggesting earlier, I do not
Very
use
important.
drugs. So, no, my controversial thing is I love this song. Matter of fact, to me, it's funny that the last time you were on this song, on this episode,
Wow.
the last time that you were on this podcast was Break Your Heart, because I feel in many ways, and even lyrically and thematically, this song is Ed's Break Your Heart.
Ooh.
I know every lyric of this song. I never skip it. I search it out every time. And while I don't agree necessarily with the sentiment of the song anymore, it doesn't necessarily describe who I am anymore. It's poetic, it's beautiful in its exploration of this character study, and I absolutely adore how it's written, and the music, and everything that all of the people different add to this song. Watching it when they were doing it live, you get to see all the little bits and pieces of what they're adding in. You get to see how it's different acoustically versus the studio version, and hear the pieces that they must have added in. For that reason, to me, I think this is the best song that Ed has ever written and performed. I give it a 5.
It's a darn good song.
Wow. Okay, I'm impressed.
Okay, that's controversial, but not that controversial.
Controversial went in the other way. So
0. It's a 0.
Yeah, I thought you were. For half a second, I was like, "Whoa, is Tracy drinking the haterade on this one?" I was very
seriously
very surprised.
He's been spending the last half hour praising it, and then
That's why I think it's the worst song on the planet.
Out of nowhere, he's like, "Nah, I hate this song."
I got you guys good.
No, it's a very, very lovely song.
Speaking of keeping people at bay and keeping people at a distance, I have an appearance for this week which matches up with that, which is when Ed is heckling the audience in front of Portland, Maine. It is hilarious to watch Ed go after the audience in a playful way, and I encourage everyone to go out there and listen to this clip.
And they were doing it because they were insulting show numbers.
You leave numbers out of this.
Speaking of numbers, have you, Aaron,
you know what? I bet you that the wait. I bet you that the Big Bang Theory fans and the Numbers fans in the audience had a big rumble.
Sorry, Tracy, continue.
So speaking of numbers, have you, Aaron, heard of this one? Actually, have you, Blake, heard of this wonderful new app called Podcoin?
I may have heard it in advertising from you.
And you may have. So Podcoin is this wonderful app that actually pays you to listen to podcasts. And it can listen for every single podcast that you can find out there. All you got to just do is go to podcoin.com or go to any of the app stores, download the app, and then register. It's free to register. Put in the code Barenaked, and you get an extra 300 coins automatically. And you can start listening it immediately and start earning money, well, earning pod coins, to then buy things like Amazon gift cards and Starbucks gift cards, and maybe even if you're feeling generous, give your pod coins to charity. I know it sounds weird, but it's a good thing to do. They use that money to give out great, wonderful things. Please, go out, give it a try. You don't like it? No bad. But I've tried it. I'm earning points and pod coins all the time to whenever I'm listening, and I listen to quite a few podcasts, like Blake's podcast. Speaking of which, Blake, why don't you go ahead and you tell us what podcasts that you do?
Nicely done.
Transition.
All right, so unlike the last time I was on this show, where I had like 87 things to plug, I actually don't. I have only a couple of things I have to plug. First of all, the Blake and Sal show, of course, is my pride and joy. And we're actually, when people hear this, we do a one more best of show going on because it's the first week of school, so I really didn't want to record this week. So we have one more best of show. But last week we did a big show about the AEW and everything else. Back next week. But this week, on Thursday, we are debuting a brand new wrestling show on the Blake and Sal show feed. It's called The Wrestling Room. And it's going to be everything outside of WWE and AEW going on over there. So that's a big deal. And on Saturday will be my new monthly interview show called Pod on Pod, where I'm interviewing podcasters about podcasting. And that's starting on Saturday. So that's a big deal. And I'm also going to be, apparently, the day we're recording this, I'm apparently making the rounds on the network, on the Filling the Void podcast network, because I'm doing this show. But if you go back to previous Wednesday, I'm on the All About the Mouse Disney podcast talking about the D23 Expo. So I'm literally making my rounds as I come back from vacation. So,
which I'm sure you're going to be talking about things that are dear to Aaron and I's heart. the new Star Wars.
I'm ecstatic.
The new Star Wars trailer that was
Yes,
dumped.
and I will D5.
So
Yes.
we'll leave that so that way people go out and listen to
Yes,
Blake's
indeed.
thoughts on that over at All About the Mouse.
The other thing also is D5 The Mighty Duck ended, first season ended while I was on vacation, and the final episode went up, and it was an interview with composer David Newman.
Ooh, nice.
So that's up on the D5 feed right now, so you should go listen to that. So it's a very good interview, and it ties in from Mighty Ducks all the way.
I'm going to go listen to that.
It goes from the Mighty Ducks all the way to Lost Story next year. We talk about
I'm going to go listen to
everything.
that and then earn some pod coins.
Perfect. There you go. Do that right now. Oh, and one more
I'm
thing.
going to be like Scrooge McDuck swimming in a vault full of pod coins.
And one more thing.
Pod
One more thing. On the Filling the Void Network feed, there's a bonus show called FTV at the Cons, and that actually is my convention feed, where I go to cons and we record panels, and I put them on that feed. And this month we went to Wizard World Chicago, and that is on that feed. And it has panels like John Travolta, John Travolta, who else was on? Yeah, I can't remember that one. I went to George Wendt panel. I went to a wrestling panel. I went to Jeff Goldblum's panel.
Oh, wow.
And Jeff Goldblum flew in from the D20 Expo to do this panel, and then flew back to the D23 Expo. So it was weird.
Wow.
And
He's a
is
magical man.
He is a
in
magical
person.
man.
Oh my gosh. He's amazing in person.
So did he literally
If you
fly?
ask him, he probably did.
I believe he could.
So that's all up.
Yeah.
He grew those wings
Yeah,
back
that's
out.
all up on the con feed. Oh, and the other panel was Dean Cain, Conroy. So the jam-packed show. Go listen to that.
Superman and
Ooh,
Batman.
Batman
Okay,
and
that's all I'm
Superman.
done. I'm
Yeah.
done.
All you need is Mark Hamill in the same room and like.
Funny part is, if you were at the convention,
So Blake, that took you 3 minutes to do. I have a plug. Ready? Watch this. Hear me on It's All Been Done podcast. I go back and talk about celebrity with them.
3 seconds.
Hey, do you know how long that took me?
About 5
Like-
seconds.
That took me a whole 4 seconds. Took me 4 seconds. Go ahead, record me. Watch it. You know what we're talking about next week? We're talking about the song 4 Seconds.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would never have guessed. Hey,
So,
Blake,
thank you.
thank you so much for coming, man. It's been awesome talking to you.
No problem. It's a lot of fun.
It's been great having you on, and everyone out in the audience, thanks. That was fun.
See you next time. I don't know why I'm waving. You can't see me.
Oh man, this was fun. This was a lot of fun, guys.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except maybe one.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.